Hi there. Happy New Year.
Hi, Deb.
Good evening, Deb. Happy New Year to you.
It's the dog saying Happy New Year as well.
You know, it's funny, that noise coincided with you, I guess, shushing the dog, but you were muted out and I heard the bark. Or I said, wow, that was a strange hiccup. It looked very real. So did you have a nice New Year?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty good.
Good.
How about you?
It was excellent. One of the best ever, I would almost say.
Wow.
Look at that.
I told
Now
him I
that
was
25,
jealous.
that's 25 holiday seasons. Oh wow, we're overdue. It's 6:31. Anybody else?
Yeah. We didn't hear back from anybody else.
Oh, we're up to 10 now. Let's see. All right.
Oh, there's Bob. Greg, do you have some vacation time? Are you going on a trip in the
Who, me?
near future? Yes.
No, not until big trip coming up, but no, not for a while.
Right. Okay.
Apologies, Zoom was running some updates.
It does that very often, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Always at the worst time. Not that this is, I think we're okay if we're a little late for Easton Planning Board. We're a forgiving group. Welcome, Happy New Year. So, all right, I know Peter's not coming. I don't see Amas. And that's all we have right now, just Amas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chris, so, all right, I'll read us in here for a second. All right, good evening all. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Easton Planning and Zoning Board, June 9th, 2023. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you can follow the link or download the application. Follow the link in the agenda, which is on the front page calendar of the town's website. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raised hand function found under participants from Zoom, or make a request of the Q&A function. If joining only by phone, you may press *9 to raise your hand. Board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion and second, so it will be clear to the audience and minute takers who made the motion. All votes will be by roll call. To ensure we have a quorum, we will now have a roll call. Gregory Strange, present. Deborah Balsaric.
Present.
And Robert Stetson.
Present.
Welcome all. Thank you. So I'm just checking. I don't see a Mas, so we will move on. So first on the agenda tonight, we have an A&R plan review for 30 Mountain Street, A&R number 22-292. Are we expecting anyone, Stephanie?
Yes, James Peterson. I have allowed him to talk. James, if you have a video, if you could activate it, that would be great. Otherwise, the chair has given you the floor. Okay, he has his hand raised. Okay. Mr. Peterson, we can't hear you. You have your hand raised. If you could maybe enter in the chat feature, seems we have a technical difficulty with you. All right, I'm going to just make sure. Hmm. I'm gonna try something. Greg, I don't know what's
Can you,
happening.
Stephanie, can you hear me?
Yes,
But
Okay, I don't have any way to turn on video. I don't know what's going on my end. I apologize. I don't even have a way to share a screen. I don't know what's happening on my end, but my video's not working and I can't share a screen.
okay, so I'm going to promote you as panelist and see if that helps.
Okay, thank you very much. Can everyone see me and hear me?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we can. So at your convenience, if you want to share your screen and then just give your name and address for the record and have that.
Okay, my name is James Peterson with Alpha Survey Group at 695 Wareham Road in Middleborough, Mass.
Welcome.
So we've submitted a A&R plan, excuse me, to the board for their review and acceptance. And I wanted to start out by showing you the RFP, the request for proposals that was provided to us by the Department of Conservation and Recreation. And I submitted this. I don't know if you folks got a chance to see this, but basically the overview for the project, as it says, is to divide the Pratt property into 2 lots and get A&R approval from the planning board. Owner plans to donate to the state and retain a life estate on the parcel. And they want to take a 5.5 acre parcel and carve out 3.6 acres that's to be donated to the state. And this was what we were provided in the scope of work. Basically, there's an existing property line, which I'll show you on a land court subdivision. They wanted to merely extend that and cut out this 3.6 acres. And as you know, the property's surrounded by both Borderland Park as well as town-owned land. This is lot 4. This is a current land court subdivision. And lot 1 is located in the town of Sharon. Lot 4 is located in the town of Easton. The frontage is in the town of Sharon. And they're looking to take this line here, extend it across, and cut out this portion of parcel 4.
Greg, could I ask a question?
Surely.
Can anyone see the plan? Because I can't see the plan. What I see is Mr. Peterson's File Explorer.
Right. Yeah, I've actually been following my plan I had open. So, right. But I don't see it I just see a file folder. Correct.
Oh, really? Okay, it says I'm sharing the screen.
You are. I just don't think you have the plan open. But, or if it's open on your end, it's not open here.
Okay, it's open on my end.
Maybe you need to click on the screen again, on the screen where you have the plan displayed. There you go.
Are you able to see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened there. My apologies. Would you like me to start again?
No, I think you can pick up on the lot
Okay.
numbers where they're at.
So once again, this is parcel 4 as it currently exists in the town of Easton. And the client desires to extend this line across and carve out this 3.6 acres here from the overall parcel. And that's what our plan is showing here is lot 4 is what's outlined in green. And this is a remaining portion of a 2-acre parcel. And then there's a portion here of the 3.6 acres that they've asked to carve out, and that the owner wants to convey to or donate to the state of Massachusetts, DCR.
I'm just curious, what are all the red lines?
That's our survey control.
Okay.
The plan that you're looking at is what we submitted to land court. So this is what's called the petitioner's plan. And you prepare the petitioner's plan to petition the court to subdivide the property. They've reviewed the plan, given us our comments, which were minor, and then require us in this particular case to present the plan to the planning board for their approval and signature, which this plan has been updated, so I'd have to provide you with a new Mylar should you, approve the plan. But the idea is that the land court wants a plan that's been signed off by the planning board before they will then prepare what's called a decree plan. So this is what you petition the court with. Planning board signs off, it goes back to land court. They see that the town is on board with the subdivision, and then they create the decree plan, which is what actually goes on record.
Okay, thank you. And I noticed in the town planner's planning director's report requested that lot 6, I believe it was, would have not a buildable lot noted on it. Is that one of the revisions?
That's correct.
Okay. So Stephanie, is it safe to say that you're comfortable with everything?
Yes.
Okay. Board members, any questions or comments?
Nothing here.
Well, in the name of expediency, if anybody would care to make a motion.
Motion to approve the A&R plan, Stetson.
I'll second it, Balsaric.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Gregory Strange, aye. Deb Balsaric,
Aye.
Robert Stetson.
Aye.
Fantastic. It passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much on behalf
Have a nice
of both the state and the property owner. Appreciate it.
All right, same here. All right, next up. A few screens here. Site plan review of 35 Oliver Street. Trustees of the reservation. I imagine we have someone presenting.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. If you could just name and address for the record, please.
Great. It's Amanda Langer with JDE Civil, 50 Oliver Street, Easton. My camera is not working, but I am able to share my screen.
Works for us.
All right. You want me to get right into it?
Sure.
Okay. I'm here with Bob Murray and Peter Murata with, did I say that right, Peter?
Yeah.
With the trustees, and they're going to be chiming in as well, but I'll give you a quick overview. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Can you guys see the plan?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me put it in full view here for you. All right, so this is the existing conditions. They're here today because they want to expand the gravel parking area. Currently, there's about, I think, 19 spaces, and they're requesting to expand it to about 35 down within the conservation restriction area here. It's going to be all gravel. There will be a few trees being removed for this, but they're going to try to maintain as much of the natural landscape as possible. Incorporated with that is a drainage area right here, a basin, which will require us to relocate a portion of the gravel pathway that goes up to what is the existing dwelling now that's going to become the pavilion or temporary tent structure, seasonal tent structure, excuse me. There's not going to be an additional entrance. It's just going to be Oliver Street, the same Oliver Street entrance as before. There's going to be a boulder retaining wall, which most likely they'll just reuse some of these boulders from here for that retaining wall just to help some of the grading. We've already been in front of conservation for an RDA for the work up here in the pavilion seasonal tent area. And we're also proposing to add 2 additional accessible spots closer to the pavilion area as well. It's a pretty straightforward design. It's not really too much into it. I had met with Stephanie prior to, and she had asked that we put striping down as well. So we do have that proposed. We do know it's not going to stay because it's gravel, but it'll just help initially establish parking area. I don't know if anyone has any questions or if Bob or anyone wants to chime in.
Sure. If I could, I'd just like to say that the trustees are looking to make this investment in the property to help fully activate the property. So we're looking to make improvements to infrastructure and amenities on the property that would help us to provide a broader array of programs and events and enhance the overall visitor experience. So we hope to bring greater visibility to the property within the cultural district and look for new opportunities to collaborate with our partners within the district.
You're muted, Greg.
That's great. Thank you. Anything else from your team?
No, but we're open for any questions you may have.
Okay. Stephanie, do you have anything you care to add that wasn't in your report?
Just a couple of items. The table of use regulations on off-street parking really doesn't address outdoor recreational uses. Although in the table of uses, it does indicate that the board may determine a similar use closest to the proposed use, which I really found it hard to find one that was equivalent to this. But my question that I thought the board might want to ask the applicant is to discuss the adequacy of the parking and how overflow parking will be handled at larger events. I use the site periodically, and there are days on an average day where it can be busy. The parking lot isn't full, but it's busy. And you can certainly anticipate with an event like the Legacy event that there may be a premium in parking. So that was one question. The increase in usage, and the town definitely supports the increased programming that the trustees are hoping this pavilion attracts. But again, you may have a lot of traffic coming out, and I thought maybe the board would ask the applicant to see crash data from the area, from the police department, to see. It's usually not a very fast road. Again, I bicycle a lot down this road, and during a regular weekday, there's very minimal traffic, and people don't seem to be speeding on the road, but it may be worthwhile to just take a look at those crash data information if there's any available. And again,
So are you suggesting that we delay a vote on this tonight?
I don't know if they looked at that information. So it's up to the board on what you think, but that would be my suggestion, to just take a look to answer that question.
I can answer to that real quick. I did try to reach out to the police department, and the person that handles the public reports, they're away currently, or when I called, they were, and they said it was going to take at least 10 days to get the report. But I work right outside there. My office window actually overlooks that area, and I can tell you in my 3-4 years being over there, I've seen one accident and one accident only, and that was someone turning in from Elm Street a little too fast and hit someone head on in Oliver Street. And again, it was a minor accident, but with it being such a short road, I think it's, like 700 feet long? People don't really, go too fast, especially with that curve at the end there. I've never seen an issue over there.
Okay. Board members, any questions or comments?
Just clarify, were you talking about adding 2 parking spaces up by where the tent would be going?
Yes, that would be to allow for proper accessible spaces for anybody that may be coming to an event at the pavilion.
So how does that access work, like
Right.
practically speaking?
Right
that-
over here, there's an entrance right over here, a driveway.
Is that open normally for
Yep.
vehicular access?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Craig, could I ask Amanda to elaborate a little bit on that?
Elaborate on which part?
Well, it's been my understanding that when you say it's open to vehicular access, it is, but primarily for the either deliveries, drop off, people who are unloading for performances, that type of thing, and also to provide access for people with mobility challenges. So it's not, if I'm not mistaken, there's not general traffic traveling along this driveway.
That's correct, Stephanie. That is only for drop-off of people that are handicapped or impaired, to provide access to that. So we thought it was also an ADA requirement to have spaces within 200 feet of the facilities, and this would enable us to do that on times when there's an event. But so it is not open for the general public to drive in there.
Well, that was going to be my next question, was about the ADA compliance. What triggers that? What kind of a facility or structure triggers the 200-foot rule?
I believe all, if I'm not mistaken. Massachusetts guidelines, they have to be a certain grade between the parking and the building, or whatever facility it is that they're accessing. They require a certain size for the spaces. It has to be within 200 feet of the spaces. The spaces have to be within 200 feet of where they're accessing, as well as the striping that you see here. That is a requirement as well. Now, if your question is, would a seasonal tent or seasonal pavilion?
Well, yeah, I mean, it strikes me as odd that there would be a requirement, for that type of a thing, because
Right.
I mean, there's got to be these situations in probably even public parks throughout the state, I would imagine, and I can't imagine you're allowing vehicular access in all of those instances. I'm speculating entirely. This is a question. It's not a statement, because I just
Right.
don't.
So as far as whether the actual venue, I guess, pavilion, requires the parking, I don't think that anywhere it's written that, you know, that is necessarily a requirement, but because of, you know, the people that come, so on and so forth, this is more of making it more accessible to those that need it. So whether it's a requirement or not, you know, they want to be able to make sure that they're providing accessibility to those when they do come.
I guess my only concern is that there's some mechanism for ensuring that it's not just going to be, you know, a stream of cars that are driving up there, dropping people off, and then going to park somewhere else because they can't park and there's not enough space for in the lot, and they've got to try to park on Pond Street in front of my house, for instance. And
That would actually, it would be a good time for Bob to actually talk about how they handle the overflow parking.
great.
Yeah, for larger events, I mean, our plans for programming in here is to really do more of the events that we're currently doing, and allow these facilities to enable us to do that, and sort of any increases would be achieved over time. For larger events, we would actually be looking at trying to take advantage of some of the surplus parking in the area with some of our cultural partners. We're looking at coordinating our event programs to make sure that there's no conflicts within the area, and provide parking, which is something that we've done already for some of our other events with them in the past. Looking at the Historical Society, the YMCA, or other places where we have opportunity to have an event that's off peak of other hours and take advantage of that. For large events, we would likely be looking at satellite parking and possibly shuttling people in for that. We're thinking that large events we would do perhaps one a year on the property, similar to the legacy event that has occurred there over the last 10 years or so.
And I just to back up to my question, I mean, is there going to be a mechanism to avoid, you know, what I was describing, where you've got everybody kind of driving into the property and dropping people off and then circling back around, or, you know?
For these events, we would have staff on site that would help to manage parking and manage access.
Why couldn't we add a sign at the entrance to alleviate Bob's concern, which I think is
I can speak to
valid,
that just momentarily.
If I could just finish my sentence.
Sure, yeah, sorry.
So I'd like to see a sign added at the entrance that just says, you know, access for disabled parking only, no drop off, or something of that nature. I think that takes care of. I think it's a valid point. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's something that we could update. Currently, at that driveway location, there is a functional gate that's open and closed, and there is an existing sign there right now that says no vehicular access. Parking is, I believe it says something to the effect of parking is 300 feet down on the right. We are in the process of updating some of the signage at the property as well, and I think that'd be a good opportunity for us to include language about, you know, something to the effect of during an event, only access for handicap accessibility, something to that nature. But currently, there is that gate mechanism and a sign at that driveway entrance.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, because here's the thing: now that you're going to use this as dedicated disabled parking, you may have a problem with that gate that violates ADA. But in any sense, whatever the solution is, I think we need to be putting in written form on this, as this is a recorded document and is the tool by which we can enforce. So I appreciate if we could handle that. And I think just to Stephanie's earlier point, and touching what your team said, I mean, this fairly familiar with this area, participated in a lot of the events there. Parking just seems to occur, whether it's 50 Oliver or some of the other sites you said, and as we know, we're looking to expand actually the footprint of the governor, so the trust, I should say, the TPOR. So, you know, that can always be figured out, I guess, as we go along. But I don't I don't think it's necessary to necessarily go and look for. I don't see where there's been a rash of accidents here. I think there's been a large number of events here that have been handled well, and increasing parking because you're repurposing the facility. But I think we'd all prefer to see the parking within the park stay minimal for a lot of obvious reasons.
I had a couple questions. So the first one is, are we voting on everything that is in the site plan, including the concrete pad that is for the tent, or are we just voting on the parking area?
I mean, that's a good question. We're not 100% sure if this concrete slab for the temporary structure is required to have approval. It's in my understanding, because we're demolishing an existing building and then replacing it with a concrete pad in its place, it should be allowed. But I haven't been able to find anything 100% solid on that. You know, with that being said, we wanted to show the overall picture and include it regardless.
I guess my other question is, so I'm not sure, like currently this is a public park and the residence is not open, correct? So is this essentially currently just a park? I guess I'm thinking like that this also so like an outdoor tent pavilion, that seems like an assembly use. And if it's an assembly use, does that trigger other requirements?
Are you asking like building code requirements?
Right, which I realize is not in our purview. However, if it is like a change of use that triggers other requirements, some of the things that we're talking about might be affected.
So the pavilion does require a building permit. It is my understanding, and
Yes.
And obviously, since it's open to the public, yes, it's required to be accessible. And if you can't provide accessible spaces within 200 feet, you have to provide a drop-off area within 100 feet. But I guess I'm a little bit concerned about how we're delineating what the accessible route is, and is the accessible route at the correct grades, and how does that work with vehicular traffic? And then I'm just wondering, and I haven't personally worked on any outdoor pavilion park tent structures, so I'm not really sure. I'm just speaking out loud. But is there could be a requirement to provide public restrooms, I'm thinking?
So the reason why we picked where we picked for those spots is because that is the only spot that allows for the grade that you were talking about. So yes, this is, I can't remember off the top of my head what exactly the grade is, but it is the appropriate ADA grade. As far as
So like 1 in 20, I think that's the grade,
Yeah,
or not being a ramp or having handrails or anything like that.
Right, correct. As far as the bathrooms go, so there's an existing septic system here. That is the next phase that we will be working on with Board of Health after we get these approvals. We need to go in and basically redesign the septic to make public restrooms accessible. I believe you're going to use the carriage house for that, correct, Bob?
That's correct.
Okay. So part of the demo plan is to, extend stubs into here so that public restrooms will be available when this is up and ready to go.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of think like that whole layout of like from the accessible parking spaces, the restroom, and whatever I don't know, maybe there isn't really an entrance to the tent. I guess since it's not really laid out, I guess I'd be looking for a little bit of clarification if we're voting on that. I don't really see an issue with the expanded parking, although I think, did Stephanie, I don't know if you mentioned this, but instead of striping, could they just use parking, oh God, now the name's escaping me, but like designated parking concrete stops or granite stops.
Yeah,
for
the
spaces.
stops
Just because then those will be permanent and kind of delineate, where the spaces are supposed to be.
Yeah, that's simple enough to add in without a problem.
And since it's a park that's open to everyone, to the public, how do you deal with accessible parking currently?
There is one spot here, and that spot is going to remain.
And where is that spot?
Right
in
here.
the lot?
In the existing lot.
The first spot in the existing lot.
Okay.
We're not touching that. That's going to stay exactly how it is. And it's been used, and there haven't been any issues.
So where are we at, boys?
As far as your concerns and your questions with the pavilion, again, I don't know if maybe Stephanie can answer this for me. Is it required to be approved by the planning board? The actual concrete pad for the temporary structure, the seasonal structure?
Well, I outlined in my report the purposes for site plan review, which are protection of adjoining premises against seriously detrimental uses on the site, safety and convenience of vehicular and pedestrian movements within the site and in relation to adjacent streets, property or improvements, adequacy of surface water drainage, provisions for off-street loading, operation of vehicles, traffic and safety provisions, and functional design review.
Okay.
So I think this, to some degree, falls under functional design.
Right. And, of course, like you had said, this is going to go through the building department. So, any of those, codes or anything like that need to be addressed. I don't speak to building codes. I don't know much about them, but, that's going to be vetted appropriately by the building department.
My only concern is, you're going to have to determine some type of occupant load for the pavilion. And if you're providing restrooms, whatever your occupant load is and whatever your plumbing requirements, you're going to be tied together just as they're tied together with our parking count. So how are you coming up with a parking count?
We're coming up with the parking count based on what's in the regulations. When I met with Stephanie, she helped me come to what was the best option out there for the parking. Even as it stands, if we went based on what's in the zoning calc or parking calc now for zoning, we have more than enough adequate parking with just the regular existing. So of course we're trying to increase the parking so that we can accommodate more. As far as, the carriage house goes, and to back up on that, our parking, do I have a breakdown over here somewhere? No, I think I put it in the narrative. It was based on, what was it, Stephanie, 1 per 400 square feet? I think. I don't have it right in front of me, but we based it on the square footage of the actual concrete pad itself.
I'm looking back through the parking regulations, And really, theater, auditorium, church, or similar place of public assembly with seating facilities would probably be the closest, and it's 1 for each seat of total seating capacity.
Okay.
Well, and you could, so assembly, you can figure out the occupant load based on like standing or fixed or not fixed seating. But anyway, I guess like, I'm just wondering.
If I could jump in just to kind of move this along, I think a couple things. We don't really need to worry about the bathrooms. That's not under our purview. But as called out in our administrative rules and regs and other documents, parking loads, building occupancies, et cetera, should be listed on the plan so that we can review it. So I think at this point, maybe we should just continue this because it seems like there's maybe not enough information on the plan. And I wonder if the grading, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'd like to see a note that says the existing grading with the proposed disabled parking meets the requirements, because I do see existing grades that seem awful close there, much closer than a 1 to 20 slope. So instead of sort of wordsmithing it here or trying to figure out the parking load, I'd like to see that handled before it comes to us, so we could just have a frank and open discussion and take a vote on it. Because the information is not on the plan anyways. So if there needs to be more discussions between the director of planning and the applicants to determine the loads, I'd prefer it be done on that basis, not at this meeting, so we could have a complete and thorough plan that we could vote up or down.
And I'm happy, very happy, more than happy to do that. I did meet with Stephanie prior to, and
no, I do, yeah, and I appreciate it. It just seems like maybe there's some stuff missing here, so maybe we can. You
so
guys
do
can
you want an entire zoning table? Because as we
Well, I
discussed,
think for anything that's relevant, such as parking, I think it should be determined what the use is. There seems to be some, I think it's pretty obvious what it is, but we list what the use is, list what the required parking is, and list what you're providing. Now we have because we have a long history, a recent history in this town also of trying to reduce parking for green space. I know it's kind of that's backwards there because we already have the green space, and for all the points that your team brought out, there's shared parking. There's a 10-year history of successful events at this property with some shared parking. So I don't think we're looking. Quick count tells me, oh, maybe you need 90 spots, but there's not 90 spots on there, and I'd hate to see you try to get 90 spots. Plus, maybe if we can come in written form with some alternative plan showing, and then I just mean written word, not site plan of other possibilities for other parking, so that way if any of the board members have concerns about that, they can look and say, oh, okay, there's parking off site, there's available parking, there's parking in the street.
Okay.
But if the board or the director of planning disagree, feel free to chime in. I'm just trying to move this along.
We'll make a motion to continue, Stetson.
Second that, Balsaric.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Strange, aye. Bob Stetson?
Aye.
And Deborah Balsaric?
Aye.
All right, great.
I am in the meeting, Director.
The voice from beyond. All right.
okay, so when is the next meeting?
It's January.
23rd.
Oh,
Yeah, so if you guys could get together with Stephanie and just work out those areas of grayness, that'd be great, because then you can put it on the plan and we can get you in and out.
Okay,
Stephanie, the agenda tonight says it's on the 30th.
Is
The
it?
next meeting.
Okay, Suzanne can't speak up. I thought it would be in 2 weeks.
Well, this calendar is available on our website.
Yeah, it's
everybody can look it up
that's
and we
fine.
can.
I'm sure it's
I'll be reaching out to Stephanie this week,
Right,
so
of course, great. I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right, now let me jump back to the agenda here. And let's see, Baroness Estates, 71 Mill Street, number 18-128, with request to release partial surety So Stephanie, I know you sent out a revised letter on this. I don't know if you want to take the floor or if you want Mr. Costa
Yes,
to speak, but
sure.
I'll leave it to you too.
And Ken Koska is here. I just made him a panelist. He can chime in if necessary. So we did receive a request to release funds for the project. And initially, the amount that would be left, let's see if it was changing a bit. I think we have the. Yes, okay. And I had contacted Mr. Koska to check because our road cost estimates, the rate, the cost rate for materials is a few years old. I don't think it takes into account the inflationary costs that we've been experiencing over the last 3 years. So I asked Mr. Koska if he could give me a sense of what the current costs are. He went back and did his calculations and determined that the paving that remains would be around $100,000, which was more than what we had in the road cost estimate. And so he is asking to leave $50,000 in extra surety that's being held by the town. So he reduced the amount that he was requesting. And I believe that is sufficient to cover the remaining road costs. Greg, you're muted.
Thank you, Stephanie. Board members, questions or comments? Or a motion, if anyone cares?
Motion to approve the release of the bond in the revised amount. Stetson.
Kevin, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Greg Strange, aye. Deb Balseric,
Aye.
Robert Stetson,
Aye.
Thomas Kedem.
Aye.
We're nothing if not efficient, Mr. Koska. And you're nothing if not muted, but anyway.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, good luck.
Have a good night.
Stephanie, I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
I don't, no.
I do. I do have one thing. This is our first time convening, I think, since Amos has become the newest full member of the Easton Planning and Zoning Board, replacing the seat occupied by Mr. Anderson. So it's been a pleasure having you on the board all these, I don't know, 4 years, maybe 5 years, and welcome. And as the newest member, it is your turn to buy the pizza and beer at the Spring Planning Board Jazz Fest. So I just hope you're up for it. And no goat cheese. I want like meats. Okay, lots of cheese. All right. Who wants to bring us home?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Kevin.
Spoken like a full member. All those in favor, Greg Strange, aye. Deb Balseric,
Aye.
Thomas Kedem,
Aye.
Robert Stetson.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Stephanie.
Welcome.
Thank you, ECAT.
Good night.
Thank you, Easton. Good night, all.
Good night from South
night.
Carolina.